So everyone lost their minds when Goldberg came back. Man, I mean, like, I was expecting a very hot crowd to get feelings of nostalgia to see Goldberg come back to the ring one more time and cut a big promo. I was worried that some people wouldn't remember him, but when I heard the crowd was being so vocal during the night, um, it gave me confidence that, yeah, this is going to be big. Like, especially when I saw the signs saying, "Member Goldberg," or sold my Bronco tickets to see Goldberg, or "Brock, you're next," and whatnot. All those signs, and I was like thinking, like, and everyone was chanting Goldberg. They wanted Goldberg out there right now. And I would not be surprised if he had done that, threw Goldberg in there in the middle of the night before the end. So, yeah. Now, this was pretty much the main event of the show, the moment everyone was waiting for to see Goldberg come back. And this was also my worry. Like, other than the fact the fans probably would forget him, thank God they didn't. But my other worry was that Goldberg has not been known to cut promos so well. And people don't like it when the badass silent type seems to talk. I'm like, just look at Roman Reigns. Like, when he started getting over again, when he was in his war of Rusev before his push to the Universal title, everyone was cheering for him because he was a man of a few words for a bit and was being the silent killer. And then they let him talk again. And then he was pushed to the main event scene again because Finn Balor got hurt. Which is why I don't blame Roman Reigns for that. Unlike a lot of people do. Because unlike Cena, he has a complete amount of creative control. Anyways, so Goldberg came out to a thunderous ovation. He made his way through the arena, much to everybody's chagrin. Like they were really doing it, and they played his old entrance thing back in WCW. And I was thinking they would play his rebooted version they gave him in WWE when he was in WWE for that year. Like, I didn't complain about the new theme they gave him. I kind of thought it was alright, but I did like his old theme better to an extent. But to see Goldberg getting this big standing ovation from the talent and workers, and I could have sworn I saw Devon. The one disappointment I thought to myself when Goldberg was walking through the wrestlers, I did not see him stop, stare at Roman Reigns. Like, Roman Reigns wasn't in the crowd, so yeah, there goes your hero management. I was just hoping for one moment Goldberg would stop suddenly, turn, and the camera would show Roman Reigns holding the U.S. belt, and Goldberg would stare at him for a couple of seconds and then continue walking up to the ring. Like, I could have thought they could have teased the Battle of the Spears match I want to see, Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. I would rather see that than Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. And then earlier in the night, before Goldberg, Brock Lesnar's manager, Paul Heyman, or advocate, went ahead and cut a promo again since he was backstage, but they like to say, oh no, he was at WWE Studios, where he said Brock Lesnar doesn't even think about you anymore. And I was thinking, yeah, that was a borderline lie, mostly because Brock Lesnar isn't the type of guy that lets things go. Like, this is the same guy that told Heath Slater, I don't give the shit about your kids comment, which was unscripted, I must add. And yeah, Brock Lesnar is the type of guy who doesn't let go of things. Like, he borrowed that from The Undertaker to an extent when he was in his biker persona back in 2003. Like, remember Undertaker saying during the Build to No Mercy of that year, where he said, I don't forget and I don't forgive. And to hear that Goldberg was coming back and Brock Lesnar, this isn't eating Brock Lesnar up a bit. Like, he's the one guy Brock Lesnar never defeated. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this eats him up a little bit in the terms of character and storytelling. And I think probably personal because in what should have been a passing of the torch match at WrestleMania 20, it was a complete disaster in terms of the badass powerhouse. But I'll get to that in another video. So Goldberg makes his big entrance. It was awesome. I loved it. And the crowd is chanting Goldberg, and it felt like the 1990s again. Like, it was a hot crowd, a ravenous crowd chanting Goldberg, and it was awesome. It felt like the 1990s again during the Monday Night War when Goldberg made his entrance. And Goldberg, looks like he's about to cry. He's gonna break down in tears to hear the standing ovation. Even the governor of Colorado was at the show just to see Goldberg. And I gotta say, okay, if Goldberg is able to attract the governor of Colorado, and there's rarely a few high political officials ever wanting to say, hey, I'm gonna call WWE and say, hey, can I come here to the show, or can I make a call on the show? Like, I think they got Bill Clinton once in the Attitude Era, but I don't know. I don't really remember much. And Goldberg's first line is, "It's been a long time and you didn't forget." Yeah, if this was any other city that wasn't Canada, that wasn't in Canada, then you would expect a probably different reaction. If it wasn't those hot cities that always have a passionate fan base, it'd probably be different. Not saying the fans who don't chant a lot or cheer or scream at the top of their lungs are passionate. Like, I'm sure they are. Like, they pay good money to see this. It's just they don't really vocalize it nowadays. So, sorry if I triggered anybody with my opinion. And Goldberg cuts this big promo. It lasts for a while. Where, and first he goes and interacts with the fans, like mostly kids, since that was his main focus during his career, was being a hero for the kids and being an ass kicker. He was explaining how during the WWE 2K17 promotion, and I must add that he botched that one line, calling it 2K WWE 17. And once again, I'm thinking, wow, no one's complaining about that. That's kind of pathetic. Mostly because it's hypocritical. I mean, like, if Roman Reigns said something like that in a promo that was ultimately great, but he made that one botch, everyone would be on his case. Or like Seth Rollins when he made the whole sparkle crotch promo, and I'm thinking, ugh, they're really doing this. And someone on Bleacher Report commented saying this, well, it's Seth Rollins, so it's cool. And I'm thinking, please tell me that was a joke. Please tell me that was a joke. The crowd is chanting Goldberg's name. The crowd's chanting, "This is awesome," and "Holy shit." And I gotta be honest, I agree with them. This was an awesome moment on Raw. And then he gave this speech that during the promotion he was doing something that he hadn't done in years. I think he has done it in years. It's just not as frequently because, well, he was retired and he thought maybe the world was starting to forget about him due to change happening, due to the changing of the industry. Goldberg was being a hero for the kids and how he always did it for the kids. How he even explained why he didn't want to turn heel back in WCW because he was doing so much charity work and he didn't want that to diminish. He wanted to help people. And they didn't infuse that with storylines and like into his character. Like, they made him an ass kicker. Though you can say WCW was screwed up, that WCW was screwed up by that time. And, well, they were horribly mismanaged. And they didn't do that in WWE as far as I know. Mostly because WWE had more balls back then and they had a more ravenous fan base. But, like, they didn't integrate the whole, I do charity work, so can you all like me, please? Unlike John Cena. But moving on. Goldberg was cutting this awesome promo with that one botch, I must add. It was like, he was saying how part of him was thinking over the week and during the whole build, like, maybe he has one more run in him. And then he thought at one point, like, maybe I should just leave it in the game. Like, maybe I should leave this in fantasy. Like, maybe I can't take it anymore nowadays. Like, that's a legitimate concern because he's 50 or so. And, well, he's not as fast as he used to be. Because when he came out, he looked a little sluggish because, well, he's old now. Like, he's still in tip-top shape from what I've heard and from what he says. But, yeah, like, he can't move as fast like he did back then. And plus, he's incredibly green-rusted. So, yeah. And then he starts to say that when Paul Heyman challenged him, advocating for his client, and Goldberg was pissed about that. And also, along with that, he explained that maybe he has one more ass-kicking left in him. Maybe he has one more run for this. Maybe he has one more match in him. And then he proclaims that he has accepted the challenge of Brock Lesnar, saying this, "Not only, Brock Lesnar, does it mean you're next, it means you're last." Which I always had hoped Goldberg would say something like that because it was his final match at the time. But but they didn't really acknowledge that on television. The fans found out on the internet, and that was a complete disaster, as we all know. And when Goldberg did that, like, everyone was cheering, everyone was breaking. It was a lot of people on the internet said they cried, and everyone was happy about that. I was glad to see it. I didn't break down in tears. Like I'm a huge fan of Goldberg. Like, I get Goldberg wasn't the greatest wrestler. He was a brawler, and his match with William Regal proves that. Um, and I always keep saying, like, well, when you think of carried, I think William Regal and Goldberg. Every time we say, oh, Daniel Bryan carried Roman Reigns in matches, and I'm thinking, do you not watch William Regal versus Goldberg? Because that is the example, the antithesis of being carried. But I'm a fan of Goldberg. I can't help it. It was awesome to see him back. Now, I have two to several major concerns since this match is now official and word is going around that it's going to happen at Survivor Series. Survivor Series takes place in Toronto. And everyone knows where that is, in Canada. Bret Hart is from Canada. And fans in Canada love Bret Hart. And Goldberg was the one that ended Bret Hart's career with a thrust kick to the head. That gave him a concussion and a post-concussion syndrome. And the fans to this day hate Goldberg. In Canada, at least. Considering how big the internet is, compared to back then, Goldberg's going to be destroyed by those fans. I'm pretty sure he's not going to let it affect him, I think, since he's a professional on that, I believe. Though this is the same guy that that nearly had to get his arm amputated because he was bleeding. I mean, from a limo accident. You can check it out on YouTube. It happened on WCW Thunder back in 1999. My God, that, like, okay, I can imagine Goldberg doing that, but really, in realistic terms, that is a dangerous idea. And I get that he had said, like, oh, it was because Goldberg was pissed off at Scott Hall, and Goldberg had admitted this. But then why would they record that, upload it, and say, yeah, let's post that, let's make that an idea. Like, according to one source, it said that this was planned. They just didn't anticipate Goldberg getting injured, while WWE and Goldberg say, oh no, it was because he was pissed off at Scott Hall because Scott Hall made a comment. So, my concern is that Goldberg's going to get booed out of the building, and booed to a huge extent, no matter what Goldberg does. If he did something spectacular, they'll still boo him. Just like if Roman Reigns did something great, he would get booed. And also, not only is this taking place in Toronto, we also have to deal with ring rust. He hasn't wrestled in 12 years. Like, he come around and spear guy every once in a while back in throughout 2016 when he was promoting the game, and then was doing some part-time appearances last year as well, spearing Scott Steiner and Doc Gallows. And Brock Lesnar is also limited in the ring because all he does now is suplex, then F5. And this isn't like the Brock Lesnar of a decade ago, where he had a variety of movesets, and Brock Lesnar, I'm pretty sure, does have those variety. It's just that WWE wants to make him this beast, and therefore he has to do a limited range, because that makes sense. And the other concern is that, well, it's the last time this happened, it was a disaster. Now, I have a theory about that. I'll get to that in another video when I talk about Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar 1 at WrestleMania 20. I'll get to that. It's a theory to me, and it involves politics of the WWE, of what happened during that time for Goldberg. So I'll leave you to think on that. But I'd rather see any other match besides Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Like, that's just not my interest. Like, I know they might do a great build, especially since Goldberg managed to not only speak from the heart, and if they allow him to do that again, because reportedly, this drawing big ratings, big viewership, the Raw's highest successful rating since the football season started. And not only that, and this is the major one, WWE gave him a bullet point list of saying, okay, this is just what you need to say here, and just wing it overall. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're asking you to do. And I'm thinking, oh dear God, they really just did that. Like, that is awesome. Like, that is how promos should be done in the WWE. Not just word by word script. Like, sometimes that's the case for those who are inexperienced, but those who are experienced or who want to take that chance should be allowed to just be given a bullet point list and just say what they want to say on top of that, like they like to do on SmackDown apparently, from what I've seen on SmackDown, like Carmella telling Nikki Bella and she's only at the top level because of John Cena, and John Cena being called the political spin guy by Dean Ambrose, and AJ Styles criticizing John Cena doing the same thing for the last 15 years, mostly last 10 years, but 15 years is okay. But they did this for Goldberg. Now I'm just saying, okay, Goldberg cut a great promo, so he's clearly been practicing. So this also hints that this was most likely planned. Like, at first it wasn't a sure thing, but they wanted Goldberg just to prepare just in case. And Goldberg's not just doing it for money. I mean, like, they could say he's doing it for money for a bit. But he's also saying that he wanted to do this because of his son, who never saw him wrestle. And we saw his son at the show. Like, he's going to be here for a bit. Like, I'm pretty sure he's going to be here during the build-up for Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar's going to insult Goldberg's kid. And along with that, he wanted his son wanted to see him wrestle. And I admire that, because Goldberg's not doing it just to give these fans what they want, to an extent, but he's doing it because his son wants to watch him wrestle for the first time, for probably the last time. So it's going to make for a very emotional moment for that kid. Probably it's going to be his best day of his life when Survivor Series comes around. And along with that, I really wanted several matches to happen for Goldberg. Like, I hope this isn't his last match with Brock Lesnar, because that would suck. Because we both know all of us know that Brock Lesnar's going to win. And Goldberg's going to lose, since they want Brock Lesnar to be this beast and get that one blemish off his record. Because God knows that's will make him weak. Even though everyone wants to forget about that match, therefore they don't care about that match, therefore they shouldn't care about that match that happened at WrestleMania 20. So it's really not a blemish. More like a for his beast status. It's more like a blemish to, like, oh dear God, that was not a good night. So, yeah, I rather had seen Bray Wyatt versus Goldberg, because I would love to see the guy who wants to destroy all the heroes of WWE. Because Bray Wyatt has said that numerous times, and plus Goldberg's a Titan, if we can establish that. And, well, Bray Wyatt wants to rid all the Titans of WWE. At least that was his motive during the whole Brock Lesnar build they were doing, but then they scrapped that. And that was interesting. You should see Del Busto 103's video about regarding Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar. That fan promo was actually pretty awesome, because it did more for Bray Wyatt than the company actually ever does. I also wanted to see, like, maybe, and hell, I'll admit it, I'd rather see John Cena versus Goldberg, and you know my opinion of John Cena. But my most interested match, besides the one with Bray Wyatt, is against Roman Reigns, because they both use the sphere that kind of remind me of each other. Like, Roman Reigns comes off as this big badass, but is forced to talk, and doesn't speak from his gut. He's forced to read by script. And I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns could do a lot better if he was allowed to speak more freely. And I'm pretty sure Triple H tried to put that happening, especially when they did those interviews when he got hurt for a bit, and they wanted to sell him up. So, yeah. So unless Roman Reigns is allowed to speak more freely, fans are going to still use that as criticism. So yeah, that's the one. Those are the two matches I would want to see. Like John Cena is also one of them, but really I want to see Bray Wyatt or Roman Reigns fight Goldberg instead of Brock Lesnar. Like I would pay for any other match. Like even Samoa Joe, like that would be a hell of an awesome match. But mostly, I just want to see a young guy beat Goldberg because it will help establish them. Like this titan of a man lost to this rising star and a passing of the torch kind of feeling match, like how Bray Wyatt versus Undertaker should have been, and Roman Reigns needs to have that big moment besides against John Cena since everyone knows that match is going to happen. But I'd rather see the ass kicker passing of the torch bout. So yeah, that would be an awesome match for me. So here's my one way that they can save Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, like besides the build up. They make it a hardcore match, or at least an Extreme Rules match as they like to call it now, because hardcore means that they'll discover things on the internet. Ooh. But, moving on, that's the only way I see how Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar is going to work. Like they let them go all out and let them do their variety of moves for Brock Lesnar mostly. Like Goldberg was always limited because he was a brawler more than a wrestler. At Brock Lesnar, he was allowed to do a lot of variety of moves, but nowadays he's just reduced to German suplexes and an F5. So they should let him do more moves in this match since this is a big deal. And Brock Lesnar probably is the kind of guy that wants to go all out if it means getting that blemish off his record. And then finally, if they make this a hardcore match, this would be a down and dirty match. Like, this would be an awesome fight, fist fight. It would be an awesome war zone. Like, that would be awesome. Like, Goldberg's best match in WCW, besides against Sting, Page, Diamond Dallas Page, and was probably also against Scott Steiner in the hardcore match they had. That was a pretty okay match for me. Like, that was probably Goldberg's third best match, or second. But DDP really stole the show with him at Halloween Havoc. I'll get to that in another video as well. So, those are my thoughts on Goldberg's return and a future upcoming match with Brock Lesnar. Those are my thoughts. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more.